A lot of uncertainty with the economy, interest rates, prices are still high. And in the commercial sector, we have investors that are kind of waiting on the sidelines because we went over there to get the keys and he had taken all these things that he had not excluded from the sale. It was not in the contract.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to the Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and joining us on this episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with another top producing real estate professional representing her market, Melissa Mann. How are you, Melissa?
I'm doing well today. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much for asking, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a guest on the Closing Table. We always like to acknowledge that. So let's dive right into it. I want to get to know you as a person before we know you as a real estate professional. So Melissa, in 60 seconds or less, if you can, tell us who you are outside of real estate.
All right, so outside of real estate, first and foremost, I'm a mom. I have 2 young kids, and I'm a firefighter's wife.
Oh, nice.
So I'm a pretty big family person. Love spending time with my family. Both my husband and I love working out, living healthy. I actually have a background in nutrition, so it's important to me. And it's also an outlet when I'm working out, to get away from things, kind of zone out, tune out for the day. I love baking, watching movies, and everything fall and Christmas. So we're kind of entering my favorite time of the year right now.
Yep. That's true. Yeah. All nice things, all things. You described everything that most people that I know like to do in the fall, like to do as a family and that type of thing. So, yeah, we are entering that season to be snuggled up with family and loved ones. So, great. Love to hear it. Let's talk about your real estate business. I want you to kind of describe it for us in any way that you can. But if you can't hit on a few key points, how long you've been licensed, your specialty or niche, any notable achievements, etc.
Well, real estate, right now I'm currently working for a firm called Marcus Millichap. So I am handling the industrial and office assets for the most part. The reason I kind of got into real estate is, as I mentioned, I'm a firefighter's wife. He's gone a lot. He's on 24 hours, 72-hour shifts. And so when my daughter was 7 months old, I needed to do something. So I applied for an admin role at the time at Marcus Millichap. And it quickly turned into a lot more. I was a financial analyst, transaction coordinator, and kind of started doing it all. So I got licensed in 2018. It was the week of my daughter's first birthday, so it was a little crazy. But in the commercial world, it's pretty corporate. So I actually left in 2019 to be around my daughter more because, as I said, I got into it because I wanted some flexibility. And as of last year, my commercial role was growing, so I went back full-time to Marcus & Millichap as an associate in January 2023. But like I said, I spent a couple years in the residential arena, kind of doing a little bit of both. I worked for Brookstone Realtors and then EXP, and I worked with both sellers and buyers, and it was fun.
Okay, interesting. So you say you mostly focus on commercial as of right now, but you do a little bit of residential?
I am actually completely out of residential now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Nice. Okay, so let's get into the market that you are serving right now. If you can describe it twofold. One, geographically, give as much details as possible, local areas, things to do, attractions, etc. And then get into some of the data, statistics, real estate-wise in your market.
So, before, when I was a residential agent, I spent most of the time in Oakland County. I did some in Genesee and Macomb, but mostly stuck, like I said, in Oakland. But where I'm at Marcus Millichap, we actually are we utilize a national platform. So we're present in all 50 states and Canada. We have brokers of record everywhere. We're spending a lot of time right now in Lansing because we have 3 great value add opportunities in downtown Lansing in the Okemos area. And we have another listing coming as an auction in Maumee, Ohio. So spending a lot of time in those areas. And I'm also getting to know a lot of industrial owners in the I-94 corridor, office owners in Bloomfield and along Woodward Avenue, and the deals that we've been kind of working on right now. They range anywhere from 500K to over 20 million, actually.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds about right, especially when you're dealing with commercial. So I get it, and that's interesting. So your main space, I mean, it seems like you're traveling a lot, but main space seems like Southeast Michigan, Northwest Ohio, a little bit.
For the most part, yeah. I kind of
Okay.
try to stick local.
Okay, got you. Interesting. Yeah. So I imagine that you're very, very busy with all of that moving and the big deals that you're dealing with and the clients
Yep.
that you have to deal with on that end. Okay, interesting. Let's talk about how you kind of operate on a daily basis. I know your days may be different, but for the agent that who may be watching and just trying to get different ideas from you, can you kind of walk us through the process of one of your work days? Let's say one of your most recent work days. Can you talk about what you do from the day to day?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, they do vary. Everything,
Mm-hmm.
in real estate is changing, and we're learning right now, and the market's a little different than it was. People are skeptical about a lot of stuff, especially working with investors. They want to make sure that they're, you know, being handled well with their biggest assets.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I still do a lot of the financial analysis for our team, and still handle some of the transactional stuff. So my days can start off with answering emails, phone calls, following up on, like this morning, following up on a EMD yesterday that had to go out. We had some issues because it was for a 1031 exchange. So do a lot of that. Monday mornings, we almost always have a sales meeting with our whole office. So that takes up a little bit of time. And I think it's important for every agent to always spend time prospecting, calling people, trying to get to know people, because if we're not doing lead generation, you're not going to go anywhere. And I think a lot of people think real estate's very easy because they think it's just, oh, you open up a door and someone buys a property, but that's not the case. You're spending time problem solving and getting to know a lot of people and building relationships. So I also spend time databasing to get to know people and figure out what's really going on in the market. Because if I'm going to call somebody, I don't want to just call them blindly. I want to know what they own and ask them what their strategy is. So that's part of my phone calls. And, times I'm swamped with projects. Like I said, financial analysis, marketing packages, market reports. And right now we're spending a lot of time strategizing with our auction platforms because we're working diligently on getting those done. They're actually vacant buildings, which we don't handle a lot of. So we want to make sure that we're spending a lot of time right now on those because these are big sellers of ours. We've been doing a lot of deals for them this past year, and we want to make sure they're taken care of. So there's really just never a dull moment. It's always changing day to day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Different ball game when it comes to commercial versus residential. Sounds like you're doing a lot more like analytical work and deep diving into different strategies and things of that nature. So that's a different beast, and that's interesting. So, and I
It is.
agree with the lead generation. I mean, you have to keep the leads coming in order to keep business generated. You know what I'm saying? Now,
Correct.
some agents, and I guess you can kind of give me your opinion on this. Some agents, I guess, get to a point or feel like they get to a point to where after you do so many lead generations, your business kind of flows off of basic referrals from clients that you had. Are you seeing that from other agents that are experienced in your same field?
Yep. I was actually going to get to that. I think referrals are the biggest compliment, obviously. It means you're doing your job well.
Correct.
And I want to get to that point where it's just referrals. But that takes a long time. The gentleman I work with, John, we're a partner, and he's been doing it for 30 years. He knows people everywhere. He gets referrals all the time, and he knows a lot of people in the market. So yeah, definitely think referrals are something that is a big thing in our field.
Now, is he still doing lead generation also? Is he spending less time doing it, or?
He's spending, he doesn't have to do as much of it. No,
Right.
he's spending less time with that, for sure.
Okay. So yeah, it does seem like it's the same on the commercial side as it is on the residential side as far as putting in the work, satisfying your clients, and like you said, getting the biggest compliment in the end, which is a
Yeah.
referral for more business. So well
Yeah.
done, well said. I like that. When you first started off in your real estate career, every transaction probably, didn't go as smooth as you wanted it. Some mistakes were made, I would imagine, but some people don't call them mistakes; they call them lessons. So let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Can you reflect on some of the mistakes slash lessons that you made in your earlier career and what you learned from them?
I think we're constantly learning.
Mm-hmm.
Every transaction is different. And one of the biggest things I learned in the beginning is it's an emotional thing for our clients, especially in the residential field. Like you said, I spend a lot more time now doing a lot of analytical things,
Right.
but it's still emotional because there's a lot going on and it's somebody's biggest asset. And even with investors, they're trying to make a living and do things strategically and make the right decisions. So I think learning how to manage those emotions was a very big learning curve for me. Trying to be the best agent for them, give the best advice, help them exceed, meet their goals, and learning the process on my first transactions helped me to better understand some of the hiccups that can present themselves along the way. And I think one of the first transactions I did, it was a FISBO, and
Okay.
like I said, a lot of emotions going there, and I tried to make sure my clients understood what they can. I represent the buyers. I tried to make them understand on their selling side, you know, exclusions, make sure you include exclusions in the sale. And the FISBO, he said he had done real estate in the past. I don't think he really did.
Oh wow.
And so when they closed, he had 30 days occupancy, and we went over there to get the keys, and he had taken all these things that he had not excluded from the sale, was not in the contract.
Mm.
So I think one of the biggest things as a new agent is to pay attention to your contract, because knowing the contract ultimately saved it, because I could go back and say, look, here it is. This has to stay, this has to stay, this has to stay, this has to stay.
Hmm.
And that kind of protected them, kind of, created a resolution for everybody. And something that I think every agent needs to know is it's going to be emotional. People are going to fight on things.
Yeah,
They could fight
yeah.
over a house plant. But know your contract.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, anything from as small as a house plant to the boundary on your property line or something like that. Like it could all be
Hmm.
fought over. But like you said, and we've said this multiple times on the closing table. If it's not in writing, it's not even worth it. It's not legit. It didn't happen. So it has to be in the not only be in writing, but like you said, you have to know what's on that contract, know the writing, in
Yep.
and out of it. So because it's going to protect you and your client at the end of the day. So. I love that was actually, you know what I'm saying, the case in that situation, and you learn from it, especially with it being your first transaction. You learn from that, and then you move forward, going from there.
Yep.
I want to talk about when you were specializing in office and industrial properties. You utilized Marcus and Millchap's platform to further your client's success, rightfully
Hmm.
so, right? So, what
Yep.
specific tools did you utilize or do you utilize for your client's benefit, and why is it important to rely on the tools provided by your brokerage?
So, like I said, we are national. We have a platform called Web, and there's over 2,000 agents in our firm. We're the largest real estate investment firm. So it's kind of like an internal MLS. So it allows us to
Mm.
work with other brokers that kind of benefits our clients. Because when you upload a listing, it'll go automatically to all the other brokers in our firm on the
Right.
Web. We also have a database of 1031 exchange buyers already in there, so it's going to go right to those people. And it's going to get them the best results because it's going to effectively and efficiently market things for them, and it helps them to maximize their profit because it's going to bring more buyers to the table versus just my single database. It's
Mm.
going to give all these other brokers the opportunity to present to their database, because in commercial we don't have a real comp. We don't have that kind of thing
That's a good
available to
point.
us.
That's a good point.
We have CoStar and some other, tools, but Web is kind of like an MLS in a
Mm.
way.
Interesting, interesting. That's a real good point because you can't necessarily compare commercial spaces to other commercial spaces because they're definitely built different, structured different. And so the property value is definitely going to vary a lot. I mean, I imagine that there's some factors you could probably utilize, but that was a solid point right there. So it's good that you do have that software because it helps you with reaching other people, more people who may be interested specifically in those products. So interesting to learn today. From the commercial side, and this is an interesting question for me to ask you. What do you feel like is the most challenging aspect of the real estate industry on the commercial side? And have you dealt with a situation that kind of exemplifies that?
I think right now we're honestly faced with a lot of challenges. Like I had said
Hmm.
before, there's a lot of uncertainty with the economy, interest rates, prices are still high. And in the commercial sector, we have investors that are kind of waiting on the sidelines because they're paying a lot of attention to the media. So that's a challenge for us, educating them, managing their expectations, and helping them make good decisions. Another challenge is always going to be prospecting and lead generation. We're in a competitive industry, so I hate cold calling. It's my least favorite part of my day,
Me
but I have
too.
to do it. I know we're salespeople, but I don't like coming off as pushy. I'd rather be someone who builds a long-lasting relationship
Hmm.
and provides them such a great service that I build my business on repeats and referrals, like we said. So I know I still have to cold call, but I think that remaining honest, upfront, and looking out for their best interests versus your own sets you apart from others, and it'll pay off in the long run. So kind of finding that balance between a salesperson and an advisor can be challenging while still doing your lead generation and managing their expectations right now because there are so many changes going on. And in the commercial sector, because we're not just selling buildings, we're selling investment buildings. So, the I guess the industry that's in the building, whether it's an industrial building or an office, how many tenants are in it, how strong are their financials. That's where
Hmm.
kind of financial analysis comes into play.
Hmm.
And managing their expectations and providing them that upfront can be challenging.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then with the fact of the pandemic, and I mean
Hmm.
you were involved during that time or around during that time, so
Hmm.
like a lot of the jobs going to remote work definitely affected that space also. So you're
That's
kind
a
of
huge
seeing,
one.
yeah, you're kind of seeing it come back a little bit, but I think earlier this year I was seeing reports of how there was a decline in commercial space leasing and things of that nature. So I could definitely understand those challenges, and I can relate so much when it comes to the cold calling. You just don't understand. I literally had this talk not too long ago, but I get it though. It's more
Yeah.
about building those relationships and not coming off as pushy, trying to sell someone something. It's really more about providing the value. How can I find a way to
Right.
show you the value I want to provide you? So
Right.
I get
Yep.
that.
And that's kind of where, too, our financial analysis, because I can sit there and tell you, hey, this isn't really performing that well right now.
Mm,
Instead of just
mm.
trying to get the listing, let's try to problem solve it and see how we can make it perform better for you so that you can make more.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it's in
absolutely.
18 months or if it's now.
Mm.
And yes, like you said, the office sector did take a hit for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. So hopefully things are bouncing back. We see the market changing a little bit, and like I said, we're starting to see some jobs come back into the office. So
Hmm.
give it some more time and let the cycle repeat itself. Since we were talking about analysis and things of that nature, I want to get into the fact that you are well versed in these income expense analysis, market studies, and property acquisition. So I know that's very beneficial, but can you describe a situation where these skills actually became like really handy in like one of your most memorable situations or transactions?
Yeah, so this is kind of where the thinking ahead comes into play. So on the forefront, we try to get as many books and records as we can from a seller.
Hmm.
And from there, I have to analyze the data, go through P&Ls, notice the property may not be performing as well as others. We have real estate investment trusts and we have mom and pops owners, so they may have different property management um, expectations going on.
Hmm.
And they manage the properties differently. So the expenses may seem heavy or they're not enough here or they might be scrutinized during the due diligence period because in commercial, we don't have you list it and 30 days later you close it.
Right.
Due diligence may be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Mm.
So they're going to be going through all of that once the buyer receives those same books and records. And usually they receive more than we do at the forefront. So they're going to be looking at a lot of numbers and a lot of things. And if you don't give the proper analysis in the beginning, it's going to cause a retrade or the deal to fall apart. And if we don't close the deal, we're not going to get paid. So, I spent a lot of time doing that in the upfront of the whole deal because I want to see the tenants in the building. How strong are they? What the net income is. Sometimes it's best to take a pro forma approach where I'm going to show you, this is what it's currently performing at, but if we lease the whole thing up, stabilize the property, we can make a lot more money. So if your expectations are this number, we may take it out to market as a pro forma, showing the buyer, this is a value add opportunity, kind of like I said with my Lansing deals right now. Well, John and mine. They are value add opportunities. They are not going to give the investor an upfront cash flow, but in 6 months to a year, they're going to be a huge value add, and they're going to be making more money than, they could have been paying full price for that property. So really giving your seller an expectation of where the property is going to sell is a huge thing. In 2020 and 2021, I think a lot of people were just throwing them out there and people were buying them up because financing was so easy, right? Yep. And so low. So I think right now we cannot get away with that in both residential or commercial. And understanding the process and having a database of connections and networks and understanding the market plays a huge role in that. And so that's kind of where the whole thing goes around. Market studies, expense analysis, and acquisition kind of all come together.
Yeah. No, solid point. Yeah, and I like how you related that to residential too, because it's the same. You got to pay attention to what's going on, the cycles, the numbers, the data, and if you really dig into it, you can kind of tell where things could go, especially depending on your market and and what you're actually handling and dealing with, your specialty or your niche. But nonetheless, staying on top of the analytics and your specific market is what keeps you on top of your game. I want to ask you, reflecting on your career, how do you feel like the key lessons that you've learned shape your future goals and expectations as a real estate professional?
Like I said, I'm still learning. Every day brings new experiences, new opportunities. I think even if you've been in it for 30 years, you're still learning, right? Especially right now with, like I said, the market being kind of crazy. So I think this past year has really honed my experiences, and probably the same for other agents. We have a lot of agents kind of dropping out, I think, of the game right now. There are more challenges in this market, and a lot of people in the past, like I said, view real estate as easy and anyone can do it. But it really takes hard work and growth and sticking through the tough times. And I think those right now who are sticking it out are going to succeed. For my future, I am going to be doing some more professional development. I want to take my CCIM course, and that's like a certified commercial analysis class. So I'd be certified in it. And growing my database and learning more industrial owners and office owners, and just kind of networking and learning more and doing more. And I think that's kind of where I'm headed at the moment. I'm also going for my master's degree. We were talking about professional development versus higher education. I think both are important for me because I do want to succeed, and it's a competitive industry, and especially in commercial. You're going up against other agents in the business 30 years, and some of those have those letters behind their names, the CCIM certifications, the master's degrees, all of that. So,
no, that's a great point. Well said. I'm glad you brought that full house with the higher education and professional development, especially in your field. The higher education isn't necessary the professional development definitely helps. But I mean, if you were to get both, obtain both, you know, it definitely just adds more value to your name. One last question before we go. I want to ask you this, for you to put this out there for any agent who may be on the fence of, you know, maybe they're doing residential now and they're considering commercial. What would your advice to those agents be?
My advice to those agents would be to get a good mentor, because, like I said, I work with John. John's been in it for 30 years, and he's been a great mentor. We've been, I've been working with him since 2017, but in different roles, and I've learned a lot from him, and that's going to help me and is helping me tremendously. Because without having that mentor, there's just too much to learn and too much to do that I don't think you can do it completely on your own from the start.
The mentor, I like that. I think that's necessary in most, if not all, industries and fields. That's not highlighted enough. Well said. Thank you so much, Melissa. We appreciate you for taking time out to be a guest and pulling up a chair here at the closing table right now. If you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, please do so now.
You can reach me. My name is Melissa Mann. I work with Marcus & Millichap, and my advice to you is reach out to me if you're looking to do any investment commercial real estate, and if not, I have plenty of people in my network that I can set you up with to work with you in your residential needs.
Perfecto. Thank you again, Melissa. We appreciate you. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, do us both a favor and hit the like button, please. And thank you. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platform, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Melissa, I'm going to leave our audience with a question so they can think before they leave the chat. So this is for you, audience. What skills are you well versed in that makes you stand out from other agents? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.